Back in the day when the radio played and CDs spun our nights away. From grunge to grooves and R&B, 95 was the place to be. We're digging deep, 1 week at a time. Every album, every rhyme. It's more than music, it's a vibe. Come with us, let's take that ride. 52/1995. We're bringing that year back alive. From basement tapes to billboard highs, rewind the sound, relive the drive. Oh, 52/1995. Drop the needle, feel that jive. 1 year, 1 track at a time. Dive, yeah, let's dive. Spinning loud, feel the flash. Britpop dreams and alt rock crash. Hip hop truth, electronic night. Every beat still burns so bright. 52/1995. It's not just songs, it's a time capsule dive. Talking tunes that shaped our lives. Tune and turn up and ride that high, yeah. 52/1995. Weekly drops, we keep it live. Let's rewind the vibe. One album every time.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly.
Perfect, because I was worried about my headphones. But welcome in, everybody, to 52/1995, your live music conversation podcast, where we are diving deep into the music of 1995. This is, if you didn't know, our first expansion into the 52-universe from our sister podcast, 52/1995 Movies. I am your host, Alyssa, and I am joined, as always, this week by my wonderful co-host, Cody. Cody, how's it going today?
It's great. I have popcorn in my teeth.
That is unfortunate.
Isn't that the worst, though?
It is. Having anything in your teeth is bad, but like popcorn is like a special kind of hell.
It is. It's
It's
like
just something.
those like kernels, they break off and then they like get in your like under your gums, and
Yeah, not a good time.
I hate it, but I love popcorn.
Yes, so it is the dichotomy that we have to face.
I used to refuse like I would used to say that I hated popcorn
It's
because
so
of
good, though.
because of
the
the
teeth.
yeah.
No. I don't know if there's anything that you don't eat because I guess anything like too like chewy or tacky.
I was about to say you're a texture person, so
Oh yeah, but I was thinking teeth getting stuck in teeth specifically. I get chicken in my teeth all the time. Anyway, full tangent. Whether you're here to listen to us about music or what you get stuck in your teeth, we're happy to have you. Thank you so much for joining. If this is your first time, we don't always talk about teeth, but if this is your first time joining in, we are very happy and glad that you are here. If you didn't know, each week, 52 weeks in the year, right? We explore a different album from the year 1995. We're going to dive deep into the important releases, maybe some of the less important releases as well, talk about them in detail, and I'm going to ask my guests about their thoughts and experiences with the music. Now, each month, we are going through a different music theme or genre. This month's theme is debut albums. So not a specific genre that we're going through, a lot of different genres this month, but we are looking at debut albums from big bands. So people who, this is 1995 was the first year they had their first recorded release. And today's album, which I'm very excited to talk about, is Cheshire Cat by Blink-182. So, Cody, before we get into it, I want to ask you, what is your actually, no, before we get into the album, sorry, I'm going rogue. Before we talk about Blink 182, you and I got to do something music related last weekend, and I want us to talk about it here on because we have a music podcast. We got to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio.
It was pretty great.
It
It's my
was
third
pretty
time.
great.
That was my third time going. It is
Right.
the second most sober I've been going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
We didn't drink anything.
I know, that's why I'm saying second most. The other time I was in high school, so I had to be sober then. This one was
So that makes sense.
second
That makes
most.
sense. Second most. It was just because it was an option and we didn't take it. That is funny. This was my first time going. I had a great time. But I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite part or maybe favorite exhibit, favorite thing we saw in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this time around?
Well, they did have for the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live, they did have a Saturday Night Live exhibit with a lot of like the costumes from Saturday Night Live, and I think they were pretty mostly music related. All of the now that I'm thinking about, I'm thinking of
I
all
think they all were.
Yeah, they were all music related in some way. Whether it was talking about like a musical guest on there, or it was a musical sketch. So if you've watched Saturday Night Live for the last 50 years, you know that there's been sketches that have a lot to do with music, whether it's a Lonely Island doing Dick in a Box, or if it's the cowbell, or if it's the sisters from the Lawrence Welk show. Yeah, Dunice. That's your Dunice impression.
This is Junice. I love Junice. She's my favorite.
I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a cool because that's not there all the time, obviously, with the 50th anniversary this year and everything. So that was a cool experience. But of the things that are there, I really enjoyed the kind of it was like that hallway that we went down that had like all the different like cities, and like walking through, and it was kind of like a timeline too. So it was like, okay, here's the American South, and here's where, blues comes from, and rock and roll like starts, and then it moves you over to Detroit and Motown, and now we're in like the late 50s, early 60s, and going up until the 70s, and then it talks about like disco and punk, and kind of goes to New York. So I think that was probably the area that I found most interesting. I think this was the first time I was like I said, it was the second most sober I was, but I feel like I appreciated it more this time around because I know how to go through a museum.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was something that I didn't realize. Like, obviously, it's the Hall of Fame, but I've been to quite a few museums, and I don't think I expected the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to be a museum in the traditional sense, where there are artifacts and timelines and like little plaques next to everything explaining what it is and the timeline is from and who the donator was. Like, it is a full-blown museum. And at least on that bottom level, and they like you said, the 50th anniversary of SNL. That's going to be a different exhibit next year. Like, they have rotating exhibits just like any other museum, whether it's art or and that's, I guess, part of what's interesting about it is that none of this is art, quote unquote. You can't put a song in a box and put it on display for someone to view in the same way you could at an art museum. But the clothing was a massive piece of the exhibits that we saw. What people wore when they were performing. We saw a couple different albums, like just like the covers, a couple of concert posters, set lists, people writing lyrics on paper, and that paper being in a box as well. So I loved it. I thought it was so interesting.
What was your favorite part?
I had a couple things I really liked. I agree with you. The timeline slash like, oh, this is what happened in Seattle, and this is what was going on in New York City and Detroit and Memphis, and breaking it down that way. Um, my dad is a huge Elvis fan. I grew up listening to a lot of Elvis, so the Elvis portion of the exhibit was really fun as well for me. Being able to pick out the stuff that I was like, oh, I remember that, or I know this, and taking pictures and sending them to my dad. He loved it. So I think the Elvis part was really big. I did want to point out as well, and I put it in our Discord. And if you're new here and you didn't know, we have a Discord where we talk about all things 52, so music, movies. You can catch up with us there. But we saw the Bjork Post jacket, so an album we talked about literally a month ago. Bjork, very artistic in not just the music that she performs, but also her outfits and her album covers, very intentionally out there, for lack of a better term. In her 1995 album Post, Post mean like, and referring to sending letters, the mail post, right? She had a jacket on that was supposed to look like an envelope. And I did not realize until, and the jacket is in a huge box. It has her picture of the album right underneath it. It is literally made of paper. That I did not know until we saw it in person. I knew that it was supposed to look like an envelope. I don't know it was actually made from like envelope-like material. It was so wrinkled. It looked like someone crumbled it up in a ball and reopened it. But I was like, oh my God, I know this album. I know this jacket. I know where it comes from. And I freaked out and took a picture of it and put it in the Discord. So that was also one of my big highlights.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I was disappointed, because I really liked pretty much everything that we saw there. I thought it was really cool, really interesting. I felt like there was omissions that I kept noticing. I was like, and mostly because it's on my mind right now, because I'm reading that Bob Dylan book, but like not a lot of Bob Dylan in there. They did have like a folk section in the like late 50s, early 60s section, and mentioned like Pete Seeger and now Kingston Trio and things like that. But like, I felt like there was an omission of Bob Dylan, several other bands, I guess, that I felt like, I don't know. I feel like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is so cool and such a cool idea. And to actually have a place for people to go and recognize these, these artists that we love over the years and everything. But I'm like, okay, what are we cutting out? Are we cutting out, or are we only recognizing punk in the 70s and 80s? Are we not, you and I are both big fans of like pop punk music from the 2000s and stuff. Is that going to be in there? And yes, we did see like a wall that was like,
well,
that you walked by, that you walked by.
I walked by it.
Yeah.
I was like, don't know what that is, kept going. And then you're like, hey, no, this is like one of your favorite bands. Please come back. And I missed it. Well, there's so much. There's so much there. You can be so overwhelmed. And so the exhibit that we're talking about was a Hopeless Records, which is a huge record that holds a lot of different pop punk bands, including The Offspring, The Wonder Years, All Time Low. The part I walked past was the All Time Low section, which is one of my personal favorite bands historically. Not so much today, but when they were first coming out on the scene, there was a Scene Queen. They had one of her shirts in there, a band we saw last year by happenstance, who is a brand new band, but it was just like a tribute to Hopeless Records and what they've done in the music industry, specifically the pop punk industry. But I think the only like pop punk, or like the bands that are maybe still going today that we recognize, we saw Green Day in there, right? But I didn't see Blink, which Blink would be eligible at this point, because you have to have a 25-year music career before you're eligible to be indicted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And we're talking about their 30-year anniversary. The band formed in 92, but their first album being out in 95. So I don't know. I agree with you. The lack of Bob Dylan was actually surprising to me.
Yeah.
And there are a couple other little things, like I did take a picture of Freddie Mercury's shoes that he performed in. But that was the only mention of Queen I saw. Not a lot of hair bands.
Not a lot of Queen. Yeah, not a lot of Queen.
Even just like big hair bands in the 80s, right? I felt that was kind of omitted. And I'm like, that's and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is worldwide. So that even has its not want to say issues, but that again, like, am I focused on the United States? Do I have to include, Europe and Britain as well? I didn't see any Britpop in there, that's for sure. Did we?
Yeah.
Did we see Britpop at all?
I mean, I think we saw
We saw Radiohead, which is not Britpop, that's just British.
but I think I saw some Oasis
Okay. And
in there. Definitely in their gift shop, they had a Oasis
yes.
and Blur and all that stuff. But no, I just think like obviously it's in this like almost like a pyramid like thing, and I think there's so much more room that they can do with it. And I don't know what they're obviously the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, if they're running it, it's probably a nonprofit or so just dealing with all that anyway. And I don't know how many people they can nominate, all this other stuff goes to say like there's a lot more opportunity. I still feel it's still I mean, I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is 30 years old in regards to the physical location. I do not think that because I think it goes beyond that, but the physical Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has only been there 30 years. I think it opened in 95.
Oh, wow.
So it's still a relatively young
museum,
and they're probably still, still working things out and figuring things out and what to put in there. And obviously you'll have to put in, those exhibits come in and out and everything. And a lot of these bands that we talk about have their own museums. Like,
true.
There was like a lack of like soul music in there too. Like Otis Redding, who is one of my favorites. There wasn't a ton of like Otis Redding stuff in there, but Otis Redding has his own museum, and you can go there and see a lot of stuff. And I wonder too, Bob Dylan being alive.
That's true.
And
well, there was a whole the entire. I mean, again, a lot of those exhibits, not a lot. Some of those exhibits are rotating. The top floor was a tribute to Bon Jovi, who is very much alive, but expanding over his 40-year career.
Which
and the
is
band's
crazy to think that Bon Jovi's been around that long.
I know. I mean, he started really young, but again, still making music, still touring, still doing killer concerts, and a 40-year career span. And it was a cool exhibit, but it was the entire top floor. And that will be rotated out with another group eventually. But again, why Bon Jovi? Why not Bob Dylan? Why? Or maybe it has had a Bob Dylan exhibit in the past and we just don't know about it. But I agree with you. There are tiny exhibits, small, in a lot of people's hometowns, where someone might own a house that they've converted into a museum that you can go see instead. Which again, also fantastic. Support your local museums, support your local art, support local live music. But it was very cool. I'm glad we went. I had a blast.
Yeah, I like that. There's one floor of the museum that has what is called like the garage section. And it is just an area where you can, play with instruments. So they have electric guitars, they have acoustic guitars, they have drums, they have bass guitar, any instrument. I mean, mostly rock instruments that you can touch and use and play. And they even have like a garage. It almost seemed like a karaoke-esque thing, but real musicians went in there and played, and people had the chance and opportunity to sing. And I thought that was cool, even if some people treated it like, okay, this is like a karaoke thing and we're very bad singers. There were some other people that were genuinely trying, and I really thought that was cool. I was just talking to somebody about, I think it was Spencer. I was talking to Spencer about his son and his son getting to experience orchestra stuff, and he hated it.
That's boring for a 5-year-old.
Yeah. But one of the things, I used to work for a symphony, and one of the things that they do is like this instrument petting zoo, where they allow the kids to touch the instruments, play with the instruments, do whatever they can with the instruments to get them familiar with them. And that's kind of what it reminded me of, that floor.
Instrument petting zoo is a great, exactly what it is. That's a perfect descriptor.
So no, I liked it. I'm glad that I got to force you to go, I guess. Or
no, I was in. I was like, let's do it.
It's crazy because you didn't grow up too far from
I
Cleveland, and you'd
know.
never went. Yeah.
We never went to Cleveland. We always went to Pittsburgh, even though they
Hmm.
were like equal distance. Maybe Cleveland was like slightly further away,
Hmm.
but the weather is worse because it's on the water,
Yeah.
so it's just harder to get up there. And Pittsburgh has a lot of cool museums too, and
Yeah.
or like things to do. And it was an hour away. It was easy to get to. But you're right. I've never like explored. I've been to Indians game when they were still the Indians as a child. For the artist formerly known
Wow.
now
Canceller.
now the Guardians should have been the Spiders. Still mad,
Should have been the Spiders. It's the same
but
conversation I have with anybody that we talk about it
should
with.
have been
Should
the
have been the
Spiders.
Spiders.
But anyways, speaking of people who changed the name of their brands, their logos, their sports teams, you want to talk about Blink-182?
Let's do it.
Did you know that they were not originally called Blink-182?
I read that whenever I looked over and stuff, specifically with this album Cheshire Cat, that they were just referred to as Blink.
Yes, they used to just be Blink, but there was another band, an Irish band, who was also called Blink, and they threatened legal action if they did not change their name. And
Cool.
these guys were like 17, 18 years old, so they were just like, let's just come up with a random number and stick it on.
Is that how they came up with it? They were just like
Yep.
182.
Yeah, I don't know if there's meaning behind 182, but it specifically was when I was reading, goes picked a random number. So it's Blink 182. There might be, and I'm sure someone, it's one of those things where it's like, do we assign meaning to it or does it have actual meaning? But before we talk about this album, Cheshire Cat, what is your experience? Have you listened to Cheshire Cat before? What's your experience with Blink 182? Everybody knows Blink 182.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I want to hear what you think.
So this, like, on our list of things, Blink-182 is probably one of the first bands on our whole list outside of like the country music that we already talked about that I got into on my own, but I got into when I feel like rest of America got into Blink-182, which is like 98, 99, with Enema of the State. That album, it's kind of when they broke out and became, the Blink that we know today. And loved them, fell in love with them. I mean, this is one of that album in particular is one of the first like explicit albums that I ever owned. And that's a big deal when you're 10, 11, 12, 13 years old and you're trying to hide it from your parents. And my junior high was crazy. My junior high self was crazy with some of my stories with surrounding music and things like that. But that's my first experience with Blink-182. And then once you get into Blink-182 and you listen to Enema of the State, you're like, okay, let me go back and listen to some of these, because there was a song called Damn It, which is on the American Pie soundtrack that was on a previous album. So you go back to that album, Dude Ranch, and then you're like, oh, there's an album actually before that album called Cheshire Cat, and here's a song from that album. And the only reason I ever went back to these albums was because of the live album that Blink-182 came out with shortly after, or maybe a year or two after Enema of the State. But it included songs from Buddha and Cheshire Cat and Dude Ranch on there that I had only heard on the live album. So I went back and listened to them. So that's my experience. I would not say that I am a like diehard. I listen to everything. I've been down with Blink since, their Buddha EP and all this stuff. No, that's not me.
Yeah. And I'm surprised. Going into the history of it, I'm surprised that Buddha wasn't considered their first release. But it was an EP technically, but it was like the same length as Cheshire Cat, but it also had a lot of the same songs on it.
Yeah.
So they were trying to, I think they released Buddha independently, and then Cheshire Cat was under the grilled cheese label.
Grilled cheese label is insane.
We'll get into the label in a minute. I think there's a little bit of history there too. But I'm a way more casual fan of Blink. Like, I know all of their songs that have been on radio. Like any popular Blink song, I know it, and this is a band that I would love to see live. They are, and I think you and I talked about this maybe last week, how talented they are. Like, even in this album, you can tell they are great musicians. Like, the lyrics are one thing, the content of the lyrics, the subject matter of being farts mostly. is like whatever. Again, they're 17, 18-year-old boys, but they are very good musicians.
Yeah.
And I mean, Travis Barker, who is not on this album, but is currently their drummer, has been for the majority of their career, is considered one of the best drummers of all time. Like
Yeah.
just insanely talented. But all three of them, Mark, Tom, and eventually Travis, excellent musicians,
Yeah. I
technically
know.
speaking.
Yeah, and I know that, and again, I'm not a musician. I just know that the parts of the songs that I remember from them, and I remember Mark being like playing these bass solos, and you even get to see some of these like guitar parts and everything that are typically like your power chord, 3 chord, whatever it is. That Green Day is doing the same thing. But then you have some of these that are these solos that they'll put in, and they'll won't even sing for like a minute and a half of the beginning of the song, just building up, I guess, to get to those lyrics, and it's fun to listen to. And I really kind of picked out a couple of those songs that do that on this album, and I was like, I enjoyed that part of it, and I never felt like, okay, come on, let's sing, like, come on, because I like the build up, and that's what's fun about pop punk, as this would be called, because they kind of got slammed for saying they were punk rock music at the time, because they were doing dick and fart jokes, and that's not very that's not very punk rock.
No.
Of what they're used to,
Yes, they really did something different. Even again, is it immature? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it immature throughout their entire careers? Yes. These are now men in their 40s, 50s who are still singing about farts, and they love it.
Yeah.
But we love it. Like, clearly the public has spoken that Blink has such a lasting impact on music as a whole.
It's they're an interesting band too, because I've often talked about, like, I hate bands that don't grow, and they're just putting out the same thing over and over. I do think, even despite Blink being immature and everything, I do feel like they grew. Maybe slower than, but that kind of goes along with just like men in particular, is that they mature a little bit slower.
And it's not, and even again, starting at 17, 18. Not starting at 25, not even 22, like children, literal children. Like, the drummer was not able, when they signed this first contract under their first label, the drummer was unable to sign it because he was a minor. Like, these are young guys. And so when they come out with Enema of the State, What's My Age Again, and they're singing about being, nobody likes you when you're 23, again, one of their most iconic songs, they are open about being immature. Yeah. But I think too, because they're so talented musically, instrumentally, I see the instrumentation grow throughout their albums, maybe less so than the music itself, like the lyrics. Because even like when I think about their songs and having like long instrumental pieces, First Date is one that comes to mind for me. Because that's one of my favorites, and specifically the instrumental break in the middle, the and it just builds and builds, and you're just sitting there like, yes, like let's go, you're bouncing, and it's a let's go, and like, again, it's about a first date and being nervous on a first date. It's dumb, but it's very, very good.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think I agree with you. I think maybe that's why it might like it a little bit more, is because it's not mature in the lyric sense, but it like each album does give you just a little bit more finesse, musically speaking, instrumentally.
Yeah. And Blink is one of those bands that I have not kept up with as much as I probably should have, if I loved them as much as I did at the time, because I bought everything Blink at that time, from Enema on, and I think probably around when they had their little break. From, what was that? What did we say? 2005 to 2009. So my entire college career, Blink-182 did not exist, for that time frame. And they were doing their side projects and everything, and I was listening to those and everything. But after they got back together, I just didn't get back together with them. I did, I have listened to some of those songs, but
I say, did you like any of their side projects? I had a coworker.
I loved some of their side projects. Angels and Airwaves was, so cool to me, especially when you knew what Tom was trying to do with it. Like, he was trying to make a movie, And he was trying to make
Yeah.
a World War II movie and have this music with it.
Yeah.
And it was
I had a coworker who was obsessed with Angels and Airwaves.
mhm,
Like, didn't care. I mean, like, not that he didn't like Blink. He liked Blink. He himself was in a pop punk band,
mhm,
but like he obsessed with Tom,
yeah.
obsessed with Tom and Angel, and specifically Angels and Airwaves. Never talked about Blink. He was like, I love Angels and Airwaves.
Yeah. It's funny too, because like I liked Angels and Airwaves, but and Tom was never my favorite. Like I never went towards the songs that Tom sang. I always gravitated towards the songs that Mark sang because
Yeah,
I liked Mark's voice
voice
better. I didn't.
deeper. It's unique.
Yeah, I didn't like the nasally. I mean, I appreciate it. I like it, but when I was younger, I was like, I want to. I grew more towards the Mark songs, and Mark had some of the more serious songs too.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that, and yeah,
Now
same could be said about this album too.
tell me if I'm crazy. Tell me if this is a stupid comparison. But in learning about more about Mark and Tom, again, co-lead singers, um, unique voices, unique styles. Like you said, Mark having a little bit more serious, Tom being a little more silly. Are they Paul McCartney and John Lennon?
Hmm.
My short answer is no. But my long answer is I can see how that could happen. Obviously, this band, I mean, Blink had their break, they got back together.
Yeah, that
But
would make
but
Mark would be the Lennon of the
yes,
two.
that's kind of what I was thinking. The more serious one, like the not that he's not likable by any means. They're both likable.
Yeah.
And not that John Lennon's unlikable, but like Paul McCartney is like the shiny, happy, like
Although
whatever.
if we were going like that, I think Mark is the more like personality wise. I think Mark is the
Mhm.
more likable
Yeah.
personality too. Song wise, I think he's got the Lennon. Like
Yeah.
I'm deeper and I'm writing more serious songs. Although I think they co-wrote a lot of it, but the
Yeah.
songs that they chose to sing on and everything.
Mhm.
Even though "What's My Age Again" is a Mark song, and that's probably their most famous song of all time. So
Yeah. Do you think that?
yeah, probably. What's My
Oh,
Age Again?
all the small things.
I mean, yeah,
I
I
think
would.
What's My Age Again is a strong
I
second, but
mean,
I
that's
mean
like
everybody
that is
knows.
like the song though. That is the song that put them on the map. Was "What's My Age Again"?
Oh,
Has
true. I think I think all the small things because like, as someone who was not listening to pop punk when yet when Enema of the State came out, I knew all the small things because that was on pop radio. That was on Top 40.
yeah.
That's on the Rock Band, the video game. You could play all the small things on Rock Band.
You are absolutely right though. If we're going just based on Spotify plays, it all the small things is 1.3 billion
Yeah.
plays, and "What's My Age Again" is only 868 million.
Oh my God. The year I turned 23, I just had that song on repeat.
That's crazy. I would have went with "What's My Age Again." I like "What's My Age Again" better than all the small
I
things.
agree. I agree. More fun.
Again,
More. I think it's more
Mark versus
representative of the
Tom.
band itself. But yeah, Mark
It's a
versus Tom.
Mark versus Tom thing. So
We're not putting them against each other.
no,
It's just
no,
a
no.
fun thought experiment. All right, you want to talk about this album?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so title of our album this week is Cheshire Cat by Blink-182. It is 16 songs long, only 41 minutes. So a lot of these songs are pretty short. One of them's like 106. Very rarely do we get like a 3.5 minute song, which is kind of crazy, is unusual for this time period. So some info about the band. We've been talking about them already, but Mark Hoppus, Tom DeLonge, I don't know how to say his last. DeLonge,
DeLong. Yeah.
and drummer at the time, Scott Rayner. Again, the kid of the group. Travis didn't join until 1997. So Scott is who you hear on this album. The band formed in San Diego in '92 under the Grilled Cheese label. It was a sub-label of the larger Cargo. So Cargo was in the skate punk world, a pretty big name. I think The Offspring was managed by the same folks. That might have been their next label, but pretty well known in the skate punk world in that type of music. Tom, who did write a book, claims that grilled cheese was specifically created so that it would keep Blink-182's name away from the main label. So I don't know if that's true or not. That is not confirmed. That is just Tom's perception of the situation, which honestly I would probably agree with based on the shit that they had to deal with this label once this album came out. They like ran these guys into the ground. It's pretty. I'm surprised they're still a band, to be honest. We said the fun fact already. The band was originally named Blink. They had to change it because the Irish band, also named Blink, threatened to sue. And they came up with a random number. The group has sold overall 50 million albums worldwide and 15.3 million in the United States alone.
Dang.
So again, probably one of the most, if not the most, popular pop punk band of all time. Like I say, I would kind of put Green Day, and I wouldn't say they're like pop punk necessarily. That's like more rock, or punk rock.
I was about to say, I would say early Green Day is definitely more in line with this than later Green Day, but you could probably say the same thing about Blink eventually too. But
true, but yeah, kind of, I don't know, just a little bit of comparison there. So the Cheshire Cat is cited by bands and fans as an iconic release and has sold over 250,000 copies as of the year 2001. So not a ton in comparison to like the numbers that they've done with their future albums. However, when the album came out, I'm pretty sure Mark was like, I'll be happy if we sell 3,000. And in 2001, not even 10 years later, 250,000 copies had been sold. So it is kind of like a darling to this album. Seems, again, it's their debut. People who are diehards of this band do love this album. The website Absolute Punk has called Cheshire Cat, in post. This wasn't a review when it came out. A good early indicator of what Blink-182 would turn out to be. Their sound wasn't quite as polished, but they were certainly miles ahead of a lot of their peers at the time, which I agree. Again, this is a great indicator of what's to come. Mm-hmm. They didn't veer too far away from it, but they certainly like fine-tuned it a lot.
Well, wasn't the production time around this like super fast? Like
they recorded this album in 3 days.
Yeah.
Now, granted, again, a lot of them were re-records because of their EP. Mm-hmm. They had to re-record it under the label. And I think Carousel, the first album and again, they formed in 1992. This recording came out in 95. Carousel, I think they wrote in 92. So this is just them officially putting it out there into the world under the grilled cheese label.
You laugh every time when you say grilled cheese label.
It's funny.
So funny.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, our label grilled cheese. I'm like, that's fake. that's not real. But that's kind of all the fun fact. Yeah, it was a 3-day turnaround time for recording, which is awesome.
Yeah. But you can tell.
Yeah. Oh, you can tell. Yeah. They could have spent a little more time on it.
Yeah.
The album did not chart, in case anyone was curious. It eventually went silver in the UK. The highest it got was number 27 in New Zealand, and that was in the year 2000 for some reason.
Interesting.
No idea. Didn't really dive into that information. I was just like, did this chart? No. Except in the year 2000 in New Zealand at number 27. I don't know if they did a re-release. I don't know if the 5-year anniversary, maybe they were touring in New Zealand at that point, because they might have been touring Enema of the State, because is that 97 or 99?
99 is Enema of the State.
And so maybe they were touring, maybe they made it to New Zealand for the first time, and that's when people started to listen to them there. I don't know. I was just like, that's odd. But yeah, that's when it charted, and it barely charted. Never
cool.
Charted in the United States. But yeah, that's again, that's a little bit of background. Again, you and I have kind of talked about what we like about them already and our experience with them thus far. But do you want to talk about some songs?
Yeah.
Or do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't have anything else to add. That's super interesting about them charting in New Zealand, but nowhere else.
Yeah.
Especially in 2000. That's so weird.
Yeah. And again, it did go silver in the UK, but that's, again, not in the year 95.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, don't know how. But what songs stuck out to you? There's a lot of songs. Get 16 songs on this album. Some are pretty short. Which one stuck out to you?
The ones that I wrote down or have listed, Carousel, Eminem's Touchdown Boy,
Mm-hmm.
Peggy Sue,
Okay.
Toast and Bananas, and Wasting
Okay.
Time.
Okay. Fantastic. I wrote Carousel, M&M's, Toast and Bananas, and Wasting Time were all the ones I picked. Touchdown Boy, I also got some notes for. I have notes for a lot of these.
I did too. I wrote down so many, like not like just kind of I don't know, fun notes.
Yeah. I
Well,
wrote down
not
some
some of them.
lyrics. Yeah, I wrote down some lyrics too because I went, "Excuse me?" Like, what did you just say?
Yeah.
Again, well, what about Carousel? I think Carousel is a fantastic intro to this album.
I love Carousel. I loved Carousel, and I never listened to Carousel based on this album. The version, and I would say this is, I think if you go and you listen to the live version on the Mark, Tom, and Travis show, you will enjoy Carousel so much more.
Mm.
Even though which is crazy to say, like a live version is better than the studio
Sometimes
recorded
it
version.
is.
I think Tom is a little bit more polished with his vocals. And you can tell they're having fun with it. They change up some of the lyrics a little bit to, talk about having sex with somebody's mom and all this stuff. Yeah, just to be funny.
Mhm.
The Mark, Tom, and Travis show was one of my favorite Christmas gifts that I got one year, and
So
I
is
was
that just an album?
yes, it's hands down one of my favorite Blink-182 things. It had so many dumb jokes in there that only a 13-year-old boy like myself would just cling to forever. And like some of the songs on that live album, like will have special parts in it where they change the lyrics, and that's how I will sing them forever.
That's because that's how you
like
listen to it.
yeah, because even in What's My Age Again, they change it to where they're one of the lyrics is "Where's my Asian friend?" And I will occasionally sing "Where's my Asian friend?"
It's so stupid.
It is so dumb. It is so dumb. Where is my Asian friend? And they do a little bit more with harmonies and stuff on the live album.
Mhm.
It's but I love Carousel. It has that first thing where you don't even hear lyrics until a
Yeah.
minute and a half into the song, which I think is an interesting opener for a
And I think it
album.
works.
Yeah.
I honestly, getting into it, I was like, this whole first song is going to be instrumentals. I didn't think they were going to sing because again, this album's net new for me. I didn't know any of these songs because none of them charted, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, if this whole first song is just instrumentals, I'm cool with it. Like I thought it sounded so good. It really highlights like who they like again their talent. I did feel like something that would have been out of a teen movie in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a positive. That is non-derogatory. I did have a moment where I go, who the fuck is singing? I know it's Tom, but it's not. Tom isn't at his like full nasal, iconic, where are you? Like, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I was like, it's this Tom? And I was genuinely shocked. But I liked it.
Yeah, I think this is probably, and rightfully so, I think this is the best song on the album. It's the catchiest song, I think, on the album too. And that's probably why it gets re-recorded. This and Eminem's are ones that I think made it on the Greatest Hits album. When they put that out, I think they're both on the live album. At least Carousel is on the live album. I'm not sure about Eminem, but I think those first two songs are the best and the catchiest. Not my favorite, but
Eminem got a lot of not I don't want to say play, but like when like reviewers like look back on this album, Eminem's one that comes up often as like one of the more popular ones. Like, and they don't even say Eminem's in the song; they just say cigarettes and candy from the gas station. Let's go get some cigarettes and candy from the gas station. And I'm like, oh, they're talking about M&Ms. Like, it took me a minute to realize that that's what I didn't know what M&M meant.
Well, it actually stands for Mark and Michelle.
Okay.
Which is Mark's girlfriend at the time that he wrote that for.
I was trying to figure out, and I can't, somehow Mark and Tom met was that one of them was dating the other sister.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy. I don't think they're together anymore, but the fact that they can maintain the band after that, as opposed to Taking Back Sunday. Like, I thought that was fun. But yeah, M and M, because I was like, oh, it's M plus M. It's not the ampersand sign. So I'm like, it's not the candy. But then in the song, it says cigarettes and candy. And I'm like, oh, it must be that. I didn't realize it was Mark and Michelle. But that's all makes sense. Again, it's about a relationship, and like isn't at the end, it's like, are you gonna be my new girlfriend? It rings young. It rings young, which is interestingly a theme that we have this year. Like we had it in the Brandy song, Up in My Room. We had it in the Mariah Carey song, about like singing about a boyfriend, and this song singing about a girlfriend. Like these are, again, people who are younger, but it's not something we see a lot today.
Yeah.
I also liked the lyric. Well, I can maybe save some of these. I'll save some of the lyrics for when we talk about lyrics later.
That works
but it
for
was
me.
cute. I thought it was a cute song. I thought it was good.
There are parts of Eminem's where I was just like, I think their music, I'll say this whenever we get to some of the other songs or ones that maybe we hated. I think their music in 95, it means something completely different than if somebody were to judge the lyrics based on a 2025 mind and think of, because some of these songs you can see are really cringy with the messaging that they have. And not just in like offensive ways, but like in a dangerous way. Like, you know, we talk about like the male loneliness and all that stuff that's going in cells and things like that. And if you take Blink-182, the band, in 95 and put them into 2025, one, they're not as popular. Two, they're misogynistic, but also speaking to an audience, a completely different audience than.
That's something that's a call out for Fall Out Boy as well. You listen to Fall Out Boy's first album and you go, these men hate women. Like, and it's like, how do you get away with that? And not get away with it, but like somebody posted this, I think this is not my original thought. Someone online recently was like, how has Fall Out Boy never been canceled? In the sense, because, and again, canceled, how you feel or don't feel about it. It is what it is, whatever. It is a part of our culture today. It's dumb, but it is what it is. A lot of times we look back at previous things and at old songs in particular. I'm not talking about tweets where someone says something racist. Old songs that were like full of misogyny is what we see very often in the pop punk world. Get pulled up and be like, ooh, that's not okay anymore. It's like, yeah, because it was written for a time.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like the friend zone means something completely different in 95. It's still not great, but like being a friend zone in 95 meant something completely different than what it means now, because now it leads to men hating women. And then it was just like, I just want to be loved. Like, and now it's like men or women don't like me, so I hate them and I deserve this and I have power and all this stuff. There's a lot of like, I feel like this is like a lot of beta male energy.
I literally wrote. Wait, we're not going to talk. I mean, we didn't write it down for the song. Does my breath smell?
Oh, it's.
I wrote my literal note is great drums, but also incel.
I put incel and R word.
The lyric is, I'm so sick of seeing those dumb, lame, and R word broads.
Yep.
I was like, oh. Okay, like again, this is one of those ones where you just go, 95 was a different time.
Yeah.
I mean, even like we talked, Paramore didn't sing
Misery Business
for years, and then because they're like, it's like looking back, it's pick me, it's misogynistic, and it's right, but it's still a banger. This one, I'm like, if you're gonna be misogynistic, at least make it a banger.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, I would say, I bring her up every episode. Just bought back all of her songs. She owns all of her masters now. Very cool. On the original Speak Now album, she has a lyric that is very misogynistic, saying that the only reason her ex-boyfriend is dating this girl is because she's a slut, basically. And when she re-recorded the album, completely changed the lyrics because, again, growth from being 19 years old and writing that stuff. But everyone now is like making memes about going back to the old song. They're like, yes, misogyny is back. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's very funny, but also like, because again, there's a nostalgia in a weird way to speaking to misogyny. It's a
Yeah.
weird feeling to have. It's for a different, like, you're right, it's for a different time. So many of these songs are for a 1995 time, and that's why we listen to them now and talk about them now through a different lens and see, did they hold up in the way that like Mariah Carey's album held up, or do they not?
Yeah. And some of these songs just don't. They're still, there's some of them where I'm like, oh, I wish they would re-record that and like maybe change a couple of lyrics. But please, I'm like
Would
sad
they?
to see that this is the only version of this that we get. Like a couple of these songs that aren't like super, incel-y or any of that. Because one of my favorite songs on this album, I only think exists on this album, and I'm like, oh, please re-record it. I like that.
It also is fun to listen to old albums or old songs in a more mature voice.
Mhm.
Again, like to hear Mark and Tom sing some of these today would be so fun.
Yeah. And we talk about that. You and I talk about that all the time with like Taylor Swift and her re-recording like her debut and Speak Now and everything. It's nice to hear Taylor Swift, one, not, put on a country costume, but two, do it in a more mature, a 30-plus-year-old voice and sing, Tim McGraw with a 30-year-old voice. And it sounds so much better because of that. And she's better producers, better everything. Yeah. So yeah, I look at songs like the, some of the ones on here and I'm like, oh, this would sound so much better now. And I wish they had it done.
Absolutely. Anything else to say about M&M's?
No, nothing.
All right, let's talk about Touchdown Boy then.
I thought Touchdown Boy was a funny song.
It is funny.
It's another one of those punk songs that has the long intro where basically you're just getting instrumentation for the first minute and a half. And then this is also a song with an interlude in it, which I think is very funny and something that I was super into when I was a kid. I love anything that has like Weezer has interlude in the Sweater Song, and other band Eminem would do this and on his albums and everything. It's very funny, and I love that the lyrics or the line where he says the dog is loyal to his bone. I think I laughed every time I heard it.
It is. I wrote that it's like it's giving high school nerd jealous of the quarterback energy, but they were friends. So this is a song about an actual person that they were friends with. Yeah. Like it had his name in the song, and then they took it out because they were like, we don't want to like oust him or anything, but they like liked this guy.
Of course, you see that guy and he's getting laid all the time, and you're a high school boy that's not getting laid. You're like, this is my God.
It is so high school.
It is very high five energy,
High five energy.
But one thing I'll say about Touchdown Boy.
What did we just watch on 52 / Billy Madison?
Oh yeah,
he was like, got it on. No, you didn't. No, they didn't. He's like, but you can imagine. He's like, no.
One thing I like about this though is they talk about this guy, this high school guy that they knew or whatever, and they talk about him getting, laid or getting all of his things, but they call him a whore, and they don't call the girls a whore. Progress.
We get 1 ounce of misandry.
Yes, I love it. But I took note of that. I was like, he is the whore.
Yes, they did. They did not say. They didn't say anything about the ladies. I don't think they ever called the ladies other than the R word, dumb, lame R word broads. No one was ever called a whore. They were just called R word. They
were just called ladies.
Ladies.
R word ladies.
Gravy.
So, but yeah.
It is a fun song. No, I keep looking at my notes, and as I'm like, I like the drums. I like the drums. I like the drums. Like, it is very unfortunate the route that Scott Rayner took. He was asked to leave the band. I mean, again, not to say Travis Barker is, again, one of the best living drummers of all time.
But given a choice, he chose to leave. Like,
he chose to leave.
They gave him an ultimatum. Yeah.
He was drinking heavily. They said it's either you go to rehab and stay in the band or you have to go. And he said, I'm going to go, which is, again, just unfortunate because, one, that's a sad choice to make. But two, he's a very good drummer. Like there's like 5 or 6 songs where I wrote love the drums, love the drums, love the drums. Like the drums just stuck out to me. So again, they have these musical interludes, but they kind of like make the song. And I just thought I just like the drums on this album.
Now he's a cop.
That checks.
Yeah, he's a cop now as of
All cats are beautiful.
That's all cats are beautiful.
All cats are beautiful. What about you had Toast and Bananas?
I had Peggy Sue too.
Oh, Peggy Sue. What's up with Peggy Sue? I literally wrote, I don't know what this is about.
Well, I felt like this song was one, it was telling a story about Peggy Sue, a girl, but it was somebody like I feel like you can insert this song into today. I feel like this is one of those songs where it's like combating against society, that somebody's being held back or they're put under an enormous amount of stress by maybe their parents or their boss or something like that. So one of the things I wrote about Peggy Sue is just like, this is Blink, a message song, I feel like. And Blink has a couple of these out there. But one thing I think that Blink does really well as like Green Day and Offspring, is giving a voice to people that aren't typically like, we listen to this in middle America, like teenagers in middle America are listening to this. And it's like, okay, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angsty. It's okay to fight back. You don't deserve all these things. You don't deserve to be, yelled at or looked down on.
Yeah.
And I think this is their first like intro into doing that. So
yeah, that's fair. I agree.
So that's all I have to say about that one.
They had the other, a message song. TV, I felt like was a message song.
Yeah, TV is a message song too, but
less good.
Green Day's did it better.
Does Green Day have a song?
Yes, that's all about like how we're just sitting in front of TVs and we're shrinking as a society because of it. I forget what theirs is called, but
not American Idiot, which is more about the media. That's like the media and politics. Okay, I didn't know. Good to know. Did Green Day put it out before this one?
Yes, it did.
Okay. I don't say my Green Day knowledge is not as deep. All right. Then what about Toast and Bananas?
So Toast and Bananas, first note I put on this is that they actually use the correct phrase, I couldn't care less, as opposed to when people incorrectly say I could care less.
We love grammar.
So good for you.
Grammar.
Good for you, Blink-182. For saying I could not care less, because that's the correct way to say it.
Could not care. It is correct.
That's the only note I had.
I had 2 notes. I said I had higher expectations for the song because I like the title, but it's just fine.
You like both of those things.
I like Toast and I like Bananas. And I was like, Toast and Bananas, great. And then I listened to it and I was like, it's fine. I was kind of bummed out. I was looking forward to it. It also said it felt like the fullest song on this album because so many of them were so short. I had a note too that a lot of these songs felt like they were cut off at the end. Like it's like, okay, done. Like there wasn't like a fade or it did like the endings almost felt cut off.
I feel like that's such a typical thing with these type of songs, with punk songs.
That's fair, but it felt like there was it almost, but in some of them it felt like it was a mistake, which again maybe plays to the fact that this was recorded in 3 days. But I was like, yeah, it was like all of a sudden, like it was like jarring. For some, and a lot of the songs are like 1 minute, 2 minutes long. This one I said felt like the fullest song, like the most put together thus far.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like a bridge, a chorus, a bridge, a chorus, like it was like, okay, this is a whole song, even if I don't like it that much.
Well, it also starts with Tom saying that his pants are off right now.
That too.
Which is pretty awesome.
This is a wild album. It gets, and
that's their energy though. That is what they do. They are all about like dick and fart jokes and running around naked and like just being silly, perverted boys, innocent, perverted boys, I should say.
It gets weirder as the album goes on.
Oh, yeah.
The last 3 songs on this album, we'll talk about Wasting Time in a moment, but Benoit Balls, Just About Done, and Depends are all jokes. And they're all stupid.
But this is where I learned what Benoit balls are. So
I don't know what they are.
You should look.
Do I want to know? I don't want to. I don't.
They help with strength.
like Kegels.
Yeah. It's exactly what they're for. Low, like Kegels. Clip it. Clip it.
Flip it. Please don't flip it.
It's clipped.
I've said
You're
far
done.
worse things than Kegels
Oh
on
yeah,
a
you've
podcast.
definitely said far worse things.
Oh boy. Anyway, tell me about wasting time.
Wasting Time. I really enjoyed this song.
Mhm.
It's a very sweet song, I think. But it also is a sweet song from afar. It's almost like that "Marry Me" song by who sings "Marry Me"? Train. Train. It's like I'm in love with somebody. They have no idea that I'm in love with them. I should be doing these things to tell them that I love them because maybe I'll have like such a happy life and maybe things will be great and we'll
Mhm.
just love each other and it'll be great. But I'm probably not going to do that because I'm a loser. And that is this song.
Yes. That is it. That's a perfect description. I like the pairing with "Marry Me."
Yeah.
Because that was always, sorry, tangent, talking about the song "Marry Me." I always liked it. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh, this is so sweet. And then he's like, if I ever get the nerve to say hello in this cafe, I'm like, sir, we have taken a leap. But I really liked this one. Like, I was like, is she thinking? I'm thinking about her, thinking about me, thinking about her. Like, is she thinking about me, or am I wasting my time?
Mhm.
Like, it's a crush. It's cute. It's this. Maybe even a little bit of opposites attract a little bit. Maybe she's a
Mhm.
little more popular than he is. Like, we don't know. We only get, what he thinks, but it's just cute. It is very 17, 18-year-old high school kid
Yeah.
having
And
a
it
crush on a
it doesn't
girl.
and it doesn't feel like some of the
Gross.
other ones that yes, it doesn't feel gross and it doesn't feel rude or misogynistic. It just feels like I like somebody and I hope they like me back.
Yeah. And like, I kind of got the vibe that they had talked at least. Like
Mhm.
like maybe they're friends and
Yeah, they were friends. Yeah.
he's worried to take that next step.
Yeah.
And as like, we have so much fun together already, but I don't want to ask her out because I suck. I'm scared and I'm a loser and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Again, it's like friend zone means something completely different in 95 than it does in
Right. Yeah, the friends. I feel like we see so many like '90s and 2000s movies about it, where it's like the guy has a crush on a girl that he's friends with, and he just doesn't do anything about it, like, or he's scared to do something about it. But friend zone today is like a guy who only becomes friends with a woman in order to sleep with her. That
right.
is the like gateway, and it's like, no, I've been friends with this girl since I was 5, and now I like her.
Mhm.
That's what it should be. Not, oh, I tried to become friends with this girl so she could have sex with me, and she rejected my advances, and now
Yeah.
I hate everyone. It's like, you're a dangerous person. You are dangerous. Okay. Shout out to the incels who watch that we don't have anyone. I don't think we have any
I
incels who
hope
watch our
not. Get the
podcast.
fuck out of
If
here.
you, yes, you are not welcome. We are inclusive unless you hate women,
Yeah.
and
I
therefore
hate
we probably
anybody.
are hate anybody. Really, but intolerant of intolerance.
Yeah.
Anyway, happy Pride. It is June. Dang, we should have had Pride Month. What was I thinking? Instead, we're
Wow.
doing what? Maybe debut. Your debut. Never mind. No, but I'm just going on a whole
You're
tangent.
trying. It's
I'm
not
trying so hard.
I don't have
I'm
any
so tired. What is your favorite song from this album? Or do you have
uh
anything else? Anything else before we have the final questions?
no. We can move into the final questions.
Okay. What's your favorite song?
I put Wasting Time as my favorite song on here. I enjoyed it a lot. And then Carousel obviously is my close second.
I also had Wasting Time as my favorite. I
Yeah.
thought it was really cute. Eminem was my second favorite.
And
But
Eminem, like those are top 3 easy for me.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Those are the three I had highlighted. And then I was like, we could talk about anything else afterwards.
Yeah.
What about your least favorite?
I put Finn Toozler.
Yeah, that one didn't stick out to me so much. It
I
was
put
fine.
Finn Toozler and Does My Breath Smell. Finn
Yeah.
Toozler was also kind of mean to women, and it's also homophobic. And yeah,
I did not pick up on that. I must have missed I think that one, I listened to this album twice, but the first time I went through it, I kind of was like, oh, the song's over. Like, I didn't even like notice it happened. So it kind of glanced over it. Um, but yeah, we don't like misogyny here.
Mm-mm.
My least favorite was Benoit Balls. I literally put, actually, I put, what the fuck? This is insane. I also think this is the longest song on the album, which is wild.
It is. It's 4 minutes long. That's crazy.
And then the last three songs, Benoit Balls, Just About Done, Depends. Second, so I said what I said about Benoit Balls. Just About Done is, are they singing about butts? Shit is getting weird at this point.
They are.
Depends. Depends. I did not finish the song.
It's about peeing yourself and pooping yourself.
I said, what a dumb fucking pun. I hate the end of this album. I think it's because I'm comparing it to what I know now, and I know they're so much better than this.
Now, if Bloodhound Gang had these on their album, maybe it'd be different.
It's so dumb. Why do I like Bloodhound Gang so much?
I don't know. You love
like
Bloodhound
one
Gang.
Song. I like one Bloodhound Gang song. It is probably homophobic.
It's crazy. When you played it, I was like, how do you know this song? I know this song from my sister, and I thought this stuff was so funny. And you're not even listening to the most popular song on the album.
What's the most popular song on the album?
The one that said, "We don't need no water, let the motherfucker burn." That one.
Oh, I didn't know that was them who sang
Yeah.
that. Sing to
It's okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They can make their own judgment.
I think if they were spread out throughout the album, it would maybe be a little less jarring. Because I'm like, they were just joke after joke after joke, which is Blink. That is Blink-182.
Yeah.
It is who they are. They were just so dumb. So dumb. I want a clever joke.
Yeah.
I don't want, and Depends is funny as a clever pun. But I'm also, it's like, I want to urinate on myself. I went, done. I don't want to listen to this one. I just don't. I was in an airport.
Okay.
I was tired. I was like, not for me. This is not for me. But those were kind of, I had a couple least favorites, but Benoit Balls was definitely, I was like.
I didn't even include them. I marked them in purple. I was like, these are all joke songs. We're not supposed to take these seriously. I did like Benoit Balls was very different though, because it had more of a ska feel to it. It had that.
I agree.
Yeah. It definitely felt more like a ska song. Just need some horns.
Yes. Let's talk about lyrics.
Okay.
What are the lyrics that stuck out to you? Because I got two, I think.
I put in the chorus, which is forget what song this is now. So hold in all your I think this is from Peggy Sue. So hold in all your aggressions because you're grinding your teeth on down to the bottom of your chin. It's not easy or so damn pleasing to not laugh at everything they say that they tell you what to be. You're not alone.
I like that. Yeah, I don't know why I had such a hard time with that song. Maybe because some of the other ones are so blatant what they're about that I was like, is this supposed to be literal? Is this so? But no, that's a good one. I really like that. Any others?
No, that was the only one that I wrote. Because everything else to me, it was just like, I like you. I'm a loser. Don't like me.
Don't like me. I did have two lyrics. One was from Wasting Time. And it's, she'd teach me about modern art, and I teach her it was okay to fart.
See, that's what I'm saying.
It's so dumb. But that one made me laugh. I was like, that's
cute.
Funny. That is cute.
That's cute. That means she's going for a smart girl, and
yeah, it's like, oh, she's cultured and artsy, and like she'll teach me about modern art, and I'll teach her it's okay to fart. Again, teach her to loosen up a little bit.
It's very teenage dirtbag.
I know, I like it a lot. I like that song. And then I had one joke one from Eminem's. There's only so many ways I can make love with my hand.
Yeah,
that was very funny.
I almost put that down, but then he says something about taking a bath with a toaster right after that.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. I was like, are we okay?
Are we okay, sir? Sir,
is everyone okay?
Well, they talk about depression on one of these songs.
Yeah.
So a little ahead of their time. Mental health.
I mean, but seek help. Help is out there. What are your music pairings? I've got a couple. We've mentioned a couple of them.
We mentioned a couple. I went a little bit deep. So I think this reminds me, especially 90s, pop punk or punk music. No Effects is kind of a hard listen for some people. They are pretty rough. They're not as jokey, and they're very more anti-establishment. But you'll see a definite comparison to like what Blink does musically and what they put out here. Same thing can be said about the Descendants. That's another punk band. And then if you want something a little cleaner and something a little bit smoother and for your palate, I suggest MXPX, who were, at the time, Christian. I would say Christians in a band, not a Christian band, because all of their songs are just about
like Paramore,
just about getting a girlfriend. And
that's cute.
Fun. Then they have funny songs, like Chick Magnet's a very funny song. Crystalina's great song. But they are very parallel to me. Blink, especially this album. Blink and MXPX sound a lot alike. And they all have albums that come out around like 94, 95.
Oh, great.
So that's what I would.
I like that. I like the timing comparison. I had Green Day. It's a trio. I actually used to get them mixed up a lot when I was a kid. Because I just knew it was 3 dudes in a band with an iconic drummer. Like I would always get the drummers mixed, Trey Cool and Travis Barker mixed up. So Green Day, I had The Offspring as well. Again, similar label.
I feel like they're the big 3 that come out of this. Out of this time is Green Day, Offspring, and Blink-182.
Offspring being big in the 90s. Like also having joke songs and serious songs. I think Offspring's a little harder than Blink. But yeah, Green Day, Offspring, Blink-182. Last one I had Bowling for Soup. I'm a big Bowling for Soup fan. I love Bowling for Soup, but they do have a lot of joke songs that do not a lot of farts. But I have a feeling that, and I'd like to look into it, that Blink probably had an impact on Bowling for Soup.
Yeah.
Growing up, I mean, they grew up during that time. Like, Bowling for Soup was really kind of coming up in like 2004, 2005. So, or at least getting popular at that time. So I'm like, I guarantee they heard this album and getting up to Enema of the State, and like was probably influenced by the joking nature of being pop punk and having puns in a song. And having fun with it while also singing about wanting a girlfriend and wanting to date somebody.
We just all want girlfriends.
Everyone just wants a girlfriend.
That's what the world comes down to. If everybody just had a girlfriend,
we'd all be happy.
Yeah. Get a girlfriend.
Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Are you recommending this album to a friend?
Not as a whole, I guess.
Yeah.
Because there are better Blink albums than this one. Even Dude Ranch is better than this one.
Yeah, it's their debut.
It is their debut, and they're gonna get better. And you can tell that they're talented.
Yeah,
and that there's something there, I guess.
Yes,
and that's what you get from this debut album.
Yes, I said, am I recommending this to my friends? No. To a teenage boy, perhaps. Not in 2025 though. But I would agree with you. I'd recommend songs. Carousel, Eminem, Wasting Time. Give them a listen. Those are great. Yeah. I think all 3 of those are great songs. Go give them a listen. The rest of the album, I'm probably, if someone's like, should I listen to this? I'd be like, if you want.
Yeah.
It'll paint a picture. It is fun to do the compare and contrast too, I think. Which also, getting into our 5-star ratings, it did impact my 5-star rating because I know how good they're going to be.
Yeah.
And it was hard to take this as an isolated incident. And because as an album, I'm like, but knowing who they are now and how much I love them, like it was very hard to do the rating.
Yeah. I think I would have given it maybe a 2.5 if I didn't like Blink.
Same.
And so I gave them a 3. Because of the 3 songs that we keep talking about. I think they're great, but like a much more polished version sounds so much better.
Yeah, I agree. I also gave them a 3. I was looking at some of my past rankings and I feel comfortable with that because I did enjoy this album.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
Is it fantastic? No. Am I going to come back to it? I certainly will come back to a couple songs.
Mhm.
But like as a whole overall, like we said, I'm like, it's kind of misogynistic. It is kind of weird in places. The instrumentals are top notch. I will still give them that. And I had fun. I had
Yeah.
a good time. It was wild to listen to, again, baby Blink-182.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So yeah, I had a good time, but I think it's a solid 3
I like it.
and again, same way that I was like my Shania Twain, I gave a 3.25. And I gave that 0.25 because of nostalgia. And that's how this album went from a 2.75 to a 3. It's because I was like, I just like Blink 182.
Yeah.
It is hard to be objective, but you can't really be objective with art.
That's right.
So thank you, Cody, for joining, for having this conversation, for letting me kind of go off script. We went a little longer today. I loved it though. Before we wrap up, any recent music recommendations? What have you been listening to? Anything you want to share with the people?
I don't really have anything that I've been listening to too much of. Pulp, I will say, Pulp just came out with their new album. So
Love Pulp.
after a long hiatus, any of our 1995 fans. So they just came out with a new album. I listened to a couple songs so far. It's pretty good. It sounds like Pulp. It sounds like the Pulp that we got in the 90s. So they're still doing their thing.
That's awesome.
I saw the starting line has a new album that came out. One of the things that we did while we were in Cleveland is we went to see the Wonder Years. I think we told people that we went to see that, but their opener was Kevin Devine, who I really enjoyed, back in the 2000s. Never really caught on as something that I listened to a lot of. But man, was he so good live.
Awesome.
I mean, I almost broke down in tears twice. A couple of his songs that he sang, and one of them was an old favorite of mine, and then one was a new song that he just came out with. So those I'll recommend those of Kevin Devine. I think it's called "Laughing in the Ambulance," and the other one is "God Is in the Numbers," and I love those songs. So check that out.
I liked Albatross. Kevin Devine's Albatross was, I think, the one that stuck out to me. He was great. I mean, if you want to have an existential crisis, listen to Kevin Devine.
Seriously.
Reminded me a lot, and AJJ was in terms of like the content of the lyrics, like way more chill. It's just a man and his acoustic guitar, no band, no drums. It's just a guy singing his heart out and like pleading with people to get involved. And kind of existential in that sense. And I kind of got the same feeling I got when we saw AJJ last year of way less intense instrumentally, but like the content of the lyrics of get your shit together and get involved with local politics and things like that, and what's going on in the world. I really liked Kevin Devine.
Yeah.
And the Wonder Years. There was a Celebrating the Burst and Decay series, so it was very different than a normal Wonder Years concert, which I loved. I was having a great time. The man standing next to us was having the time of his life. Shout out to that guy. That he knew every lyric. I loved him. He was awesome.
He was devastated that the Knicks lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, but man, that man was beating his chest, and he was emotionally involved in every Wonder Years song that played.
I got the vibe that the Wonder Years saved his life. Do you you know what I mean? Like I don't know this man from Adam. Like he just was stood next to us in GA, and he was very cool, very nice. We talked to him about the game. But oh my God, I was like, this is what I want to see at a concert, is someone who is just having the time of their life.
I need to show you the wrestler that he looked just like.
Okay. He did look, he had the build of a wrestler. Yes, I endorse all of those.
It might have been him. I don't know.
Wouldn't that be crazy? I don't really have any music recommendations yet. John Bellion's new album did come out yesterday. I have not listened yet. I've listened to every song that has come, any of the singles he's put out, and I have not really liked any of them, which is devastating because I'm a massive John Bellion fan. However, I've been listening to him on some podcasts, and he is very intentionally taking a step in a different direction. So it's maybe a direction that I'm not super into, but in terms of artistry and like standing up for what you want and doing what you want and having the ability to do so. I support him in that. But
Yeah.
but again, the new album, new music, go out and listen. I do want to recommend, I've been listening more podcasts. Again, I was traveling for work this week, and the Zach Sang Show. So Zach Sang, and the reason I'm bringing it up here is because it is a music podcast. Zach Sang is the lead guy. He is the interviewer. He has a team of people around him. You probably have seen him on TikTok, clips of him interviewing people. It feels more like a radio show.
I
And it
mean,
does a podcast.
he is a radio guy.
He is a radio guy. But again, you can listen to it on Spotify in podcast form. He interviewed John Bellion, and something I picked up on, and because John's like, oh, hey, you should talk to this person in the music industry. I can set that up for you. Oh, hey, have you ever talked to this guy? He would love to come in here. And he goes, you are someone that musicians like to talk to because they trust you. You know what they're talking about. You can hold a conversation. You're not like paparazzi trying to like ask weird questions. And he goes,
Yeah.
and he's like, and you're knowledgeable. He's like, people like talking to you. And I am happy to bring anybody in here that you want me to help you get in here. And I was like, that's a cool person. Like that's who I want to hear music news from. So yeah, the Zach Sang Show. If you've never listened, if you're a music fan, he's interviewed a ton of musicians and producers and lyricists for a while. So yeah, again, highly recommend. I enjoyed that show very much.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's all we got. And if you're interested, of course, in getting any information, any other kind of recommendations, chatting with our community, we do have our Discord server as well as our Instagram page where we announce again if we're going to change the times of the podcast because I'm traveling, or what people are listening to, what people are watching. If you want to chat with some folks who are into the same stuff that you're into. Next week, again, because we are starting back on Tuesday again, like at our normal time, we are going to be covering AM by Wilco. So AM as in like morning AM by Wilco. Wilco's debut album, streaming on wherever you get your music from. But that's all I got. Cody, you got anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, then thank y'all very much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. We will see you next time on 52/1995.